Look for God's providence. Look for God's providence. The Lord is my chosen portion and my cup. You hold my lot. You see, David didn't have much of an inheritance from his family because he was the youngest of multiple brothers. But David knew that he had an inheritance in God. And God's providence had worked in David's life to bring him to where he was. Now, providence is not God pulling the strings and making everybody do certain things so he accomplishes his will. That is too simple. Providence is God working behind the scenes, using the free will actions of men and women, their choices, their actions, their behavior. And even in the midst of all of that, God orchestrates things in such a way that he accomplishes his purpose in our lives. And you can think about your own life and think of the providence of God that's come through your life. I think about God's providence in my salvation. I was raised in a home that was not Christ-centered. But when I was in 6th grade, by the providence of God, I had a coach who, for the first time in my life, I heard the gospel of Jesus Christ. When I was in high school, it was the providence of God that he put a young man by the name of Terry Mitten in my life and began to share with me about Jesus. It was the providence of God that Danny LeBlanc became my friend, and he invited me to a Baptist church. It was the providence of God that Brother Lucas was preaching a message, and that night I surrendered my life to Jesus Christ. That's just with my salvation. And you can think of the providence of God and how he constantly is at work in your life. And what an incredible blessing. There are no such things as luck or coincidence. It is God's purpose and his plan in working out in us. Look for God's providence.